Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the Leading Edge Cricket Podcast. Today we're getting stuck in huge news coming out of the England dressing room. One, England under-19 World Cup finalist set, the first time since 1998. Ashley Giles has been sacked or resigned, depending which article you're actually going to read. And ECB Women's being a progressive part of the management structure, bringing in a head of performance pathway. I'm Rob, this is Rich. Welcome to the podcast.
How we doing, Rob?
Good, mate. Good. I think I've just done the ultimate SHIT sandwich there, where I've said World Cup final, something bad, and performance pathway. And then you just kind of squash the bad news in the middle.
Absolutely, yeah. Didn't want to be either of them slices of bread, but you've summed it up absolutely right. Yeah, some good things to talk about, some really good things to talk about from a certain perspective, and then maybe something that's okay to talk about. But who knows about the last part? It's all these positions they create. Will they do any good? Depends who's running the organisation.
I'll tell you what is good, though. What is good is rate, reviewing and subscribing. There we go. I've said it at the start rather than the 39th minute. God. Anywhere that you listen, 5-star reviews is the best way to help us grow this podcast if you enjoy it. If you could leave us one, that would be much appreciated. Any comments that you make while you're doing it will be read out on the podcast. Rich, England under-19 World Cup final coming up. Talk us through the semis. It was a huge game. England-Afghanistan.
It was fun. I feel guilty for not watching more of this tournament now. But yeah, England beat Afghanistan in dramatic fashion, I think we can say. The game was looking like it'd go down to the wire, but Leicestershire spinner and potential little superstar Rehan Ahmed took 3 wickets in the 46 over, swing the game to England. 16-run win, booked their place in the under-19 final. So just quickly, just summarising what went on. So England won the toss. They had a bat first, 231 for 6. Wasn't easy going, but 50 from opener George Thomas, 56 not out from George Bell, and a quick-fire 53 at the end from the England innings from Glamorgan wicketkeeper Alex Horton. As I said, it wasn't easy going. Real credit to Afghani side, who bowled really, really well, and are a very, very talented young team. And they'll be frustrated. There were some early drops, some quite potentially costly drops as well. One was like me on a caught and bowled. If I don't have a loop on it, it's not staying in the hands.
You're in trouble. You're in trouble. Yeah. You think it's going to take your teeth out and it just kind of floats to you along the way.
You've seen them. I've seen you at slip, so let's not talk about any of that. Anyway, look, it's a great, this looks an exciting young team. So we're World Cup holders in the men's 50 over, women's. We could have the set if England can win this final. And we'll come into who they're playing in a minute, Rob. But really, really good young team. And in a way, how you would say this, how good is it to see this good young England team, but also to see Afghanistan production line continuing?
It's awesome, mate. This England team has got so much energy. The games actually kick off about 1:50 a.m. over here. So I've seen no games live. But through the power of avoiding social media, who thought you could enjoy watching sport by avoiding the score? I watched the hours highlight on the games, with the England games specifically. And they've just been really, really solid. George Thomas, built like an absolute train, aged about 18 years old, shoulders for days, Billy biceps. Jacob Bethel, superb. Tom Presta has led admirably at the top and looks like a leader. But this was the first time that I'd really seen them or felt them be down there, be struggling. Yeah. They were 5 for 106 when Luxon went out in the 23rd over, 6 for 136 when Rehan Ahmed went out. But George Bell, Alex Horton, absolutely incredible down the order for the 7th wicket, put on, practically 100 runs. And it's always about giving yourself a chance. And, if the bowled out for 160, you're not really giving yourself much leeway or much rope to be able to fail. Whereas you get a score of 230, you know that a couple of players have got to go and score well for this Afghanistan team. And they did, in all fairness. They looked real good. Mohammad Ishaq scored 43, looked good. Alan Noor looked absolutely class for his 60 and played with a lot of disdain, particularly against the short ball. But they just fell short. And it was so close at the end. And then Rehan Ahmed, who has come into huge praise over the last few days. And you know what, Rich? It's quite rightly so. It's an exciting leggy with an absolute exceptional googly thrown into the mixer that's coming in and performing. And when was the last time you saw an England... Well, the last time they were in the World Cup final was 1998, and we've had some pretty good cricketers come through the regime since then. India, 4-time back-to-back finalists. So it shows where the disparity is between where English cricket's been and where India cricket has been. But seeing a young lad that one can turn it, two isn't afraid to give it some air, and three getting some reward. How good does that feel?
Oh, it's huge, isn't it? I mean, they've got their eyes on these lads. You know, Ahmed, I think it's Aspinwall, who I don't think he played in this game, and Rue, is it James Rue? Yeah, they all were, they were selected in the representative game, weren't they? Halfway through the season last year. I can't remember who the opposition was, but it was a bit of a surprise when they were announcing the squad. It was a bit of a county 11. And those three, as was at the time, unknowns, were chucked into it.
Yeah.
Ryan's only 17, the spinner. You know, that was a sensational over. It's not necessarily the best wickets he'll ever take, but he made it difficult, didn't he? Afghanistan had to take chances. As soon as the first wicket went, pressure's on, isn't it? They needed about 16 or more to win, didn't they, at the time, or 19. So he just did what he needed to do. England took some good catches, and there's a little superstar in the making there. But one thing I want to take from this performance, and us getting excited about this young spinner, is I'd love to see England get excited about some of the other young spinners that are out and about at the moment, who have been playing first-class cricket and who have been around the international setup. We've got these young lads coming through, but there are other good young lads as well. So let's get excited about all of them, England selectors and setup. Yeah. And, these are the guys that are coming behind, aren't they? But it's so good for the game. It's so good for English cricket to see that we're producing some pretty good cricketers.
Yeah.
The counties are producing some quite good cricketers.
Yeah.
It's not perfect, but it's let's not always. I think NASA was talking today about, we'll get onto this in a minute when we're talking about Silverwood and Giles. But, when England do well, the players, the setup, everyone gets a bit of credit for it. But when we're doing badly, we blame the counties. Yeah. So again, England under-19s in a final, there must be something right, even though there's a lot that we could do better.
Yeah. How good is it as well? Because it's got to be the least dominant format of the game, one-day international cricket at the moment, or 50-over cricket, because it's all T20 stuff. There's T20 World Cups coming out your ears. There's T20 leagues coming out your ears. Might need to go and get that checked out. How good is it to see 50-over cricket where guys can actually build stability, build an innings, build a big score, rather than going crash, bang, wallop? A game that's probably more suited to moving on into the test arena.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, if there was an international format that does translate better, it is that 50 over, because you do have to build an innings. It's not just biffing it from ball one, is it? And it's great to see England doing so well in it. Again, talking about counties for a second, we've basically relegated our 50 over competition after winning the World Cup. Yeah. It's almost a second 11 or a half second 11 competition now. The value's there. We could potentially be world champions in men's, women's, and under-19s. And I think the youths, younger England as well, have won. So we could be absolutely dominant at a time where we're backburnering it. So just come on. Yeah, it's a format that I think is going to be more and more important for the transitions to test team for England. Get people experience. It's an easy way of getting people experience in different conditions against different types of bowling. Yeah. And that's what we've been crying out for, isn't it? And I think that's part of the big conversation we need about test cricket and how English players are developed and how they're readied to make that step up into the red ball arena. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to the final. Who they're playing, I hear you ask?
Yeah, semi-final. Who was the second one?
You've kind of gave it away, didn't you? India, a very, very impressive Indian team, which is always what Indian under-19 sides are when it comes to these tournaments. They smashed Australia, 96-run winning margin. As you said, the fourth straight final in the competition. Obviously not the fourth straight final for the players in this team. They would have been very young when they got into their first final if it was all the same players. So... just making sure you were listening there, Rob.
I like it.
Yeah, so India, they got 290 for 5. Skipper Yashtal, 110, fantastic. And Sheikh Rashid, 94. She had a 204-run partnership. That was the mainstay of the game, really, wasn't it? And the Aussies never really got close. As we said, finishing way short, 96 runs. With the ball for India, Vicky Ostwal led the way, 3 for 42. I think he's the leading wicket taker, the danger man for India. Yeah, look, I think we can't probably use this word, but it's almost like a dynasty of this Indian setup, isn't it? Now, it's, like we said, we joke, but it's not the same players, obviously. It's a transition every time. But how good is it that India can create a setup every single year that they've got these players coming into this level and being the best in the world?
Yeah, it's incredible, mate. It's the ultimate conveyor belt of cricket. There's so much domestic cricket over there, like the Ranji's Trophy. I might have pronounced that slightly wrong. Has got so many teams, but then there's domestic T20 competitions, the state domestic T20 competitions, the size of a country of England. But there's multiple of them throughout the country, and then the best of the best, they go on, play in the IPL. It's quite incredible. And like I said, this is the fourth final that they've been in consecutively. Dahl as well, he's the third Indian to score a century in the under-19 competition. A couple of players to do it. Best one was Virat Kohli. He scored 100 off 74 balls versus the West Indies many years ago now. But
he didn't I was just going to say, didn't have a bad career, did he, that young lad? I think he went on to achieve a little bit in the game. Not a bad player. Yeah, I remember him.
He could scratch around for 30 every so often. Or in his case, scratch around 70 times for 100. He's not bad. Cross format. But it goes to show the pathway is very much there in Indian cricket. People know how they get to the top. And certain players are picked and accelerated through that and brought into these IPL squads early to give them exposure, coaching, and to get a better look at them to help them. And I think they've got their structure quite nailed down and are quite happy with where it's at most of the time. I do think, I don't want to take away from the under-19s there and go to the men's team, but there are question marks around that next group coming in and have the old guard maybe outstayed their welcome. But India, just an exceptional team, mate. It makes it's not a David versus Goliath situation, but I think most teams, when they're playing India these days, do look at it as a David versus Goliath situation, given resources, people, inept's the wrong word, but extreme levels of quality that they've got in depth. It almost is, wow, it's us against them, and it's incredibly difficult for teams. And one of the few teams that can match India in terms of resources and structure probably is this England team, who have underperformed for years. So it's great and it's exciting. And you just imagine if this England under-19 go and beat India in the final, cricket fans all across England are going to be going absolutely cock-a-hoop, because they're going to be like, this is the next coming. Like, we're okay for the next generation.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what we want, isn't it? Even if they fall short, a good performance will still keep us nice and warm and fuzzy through the end of this winter. So it should be an amazing encounter. There's some England players that really, we want to see them play their absolute best if possible. Yeah. We spoke about Thomas doing well. We spoke about Prest, who's had a really good tournament, the captain. If they can lead from the front with Bethel, with the ball, Rian Ahmed, obviously, but also didn't really get much in this game, did he? But Joshua Boydens, I think, is the leading wicket taker for England, possibly in the competition.
13 wickets at 9, mate. He's been great. Can swing it,
superb.
But it's the ones that he doesn't swing that you really think he's going to get a wicket on. He's got that, left armers can be dangerous, and he's looking like a very dangerous left armer. Great curly hair as well, love it.
And big time. And who likes a left armer, Rob? England.
Surprisingly, he didn't get on the West Indies tour, mate. He was there.
Left armour bus. Just a quick apology. Thomas asked me while that third player who was selected in that county 11 did also play, obviously, so my apologies on that one. So all three of those players that were involved in that were key players in that game. So we've got it coming up on Saturday, Rob, 5th of February, Saturday, Sir Vivian Richards Stadium in Antigua. Gets away 1 p.m. UK time, live on Sky Sports. If you've got it, get tuned in. Don't make a mistake. And last question, Rob, are we going to win? Chances of us winning it? Yes. Go on, England.
Yes, we are going to win. I just think it would be amazing for the country if we do. It doesn't mean we are. It's just my opinion that this England team, it's good to go into a final showing a huge level of resilience. And England have just shown a huge level of resilience to win that game, both with bat down the order and taking wickets at the end in a tight contest. So really do think England are going to win. I'm going to add one more thing to the Under-19 World Cup, and we got tagged on it on Twitter by Village Ruben, who said Dewald Brevis, who is the top run scorer in the competition, 418 runs, 450s, 1 century, average of 83, strike rate of 84, 18 years old, South African, has been shortlisted for the IPL mega auction with a base price of 20 lakh. So I don't know what that equates to. I think that's the lowest value.
Money. It's still money.
That is probably a very good under-the-radar pick for someone who might want to bring them into their draft franchise system and have them as a superstar in a couple of years' time.
Yeah, get them on board, get them with a kit, send them home again, all tooled up with a kit. And loyal for the future. Yeah, and the disrespect to me, I didn't even know his first name last time we podded, mate. So bad, sorry. I'll know it soon, I'm sure. So I think we can continue the good news.
Go on then. Break it to me. Give me some good news.
Ashley Giles sacked as England's men's director of cricket. Cricket. Can we say that this could be the first domino to fall? I think we potentially can. So there's going to be more news coming in the next few days, I would hope, without ruining things too much. So let's just get into what's happened. So ECB held a board meeting Tuesday to discuss the end of tour Ashes report. Yep. Giles obviously was unsurprisingly, I'd say, let go. Giles himself has said the past couple of years, which obviously has included COVID-19, how can we forget, and the resulting biosecure touring bubbles, it has been incredibly challenging. We know it has, actually. Tom Harrison, the ECB, the very well-paid ECB Chief Executive Officer, said, I'm extremely grateful to Ashley for his commitment and contribution to England men's cricket over the last 3 years. He's highly respected throughout the game and has made a huge contribution to the ECB and England's men's cricket. Off the back of a disappointing men's Ashes this winter, we must ensure we put in place the conditions across our game to enable our test team to succeed. Okay. All right. So that's that. Where we're up to then with it. So Andrew Strauss, obviously former director of cricket, he's going to be stepping in on an interim basis, and we'll put in place arrangement for the England's 3-test tour of West Indies, which comes up in end of February. Is it? It starts. Well, I think they get over there end of Feb, but it starts on March the 8th. Yeah. The search for a full-time replacement will happen. So Strauss is only in there as an interim at the moment. So first things, before we get into Giles, I've got a quote from Giles coming up as well, but first thing with Andrew Strauss, is he the sort of man you would want us to drop back into that role, or do you think it's just best for someone like Strauss to sit in there on an interim basis and then get somebody else involved?
Great question. I think in terms of needing stability and someone that can just come in and do a job while you work out what you're going to do and what structure you're going to have, Andrew Strauss is the perfect guy. He did a very good job prior. He left due to personal reasons, not because of performance and structure or people. And he's the perfect guy who's now got more headspace in his life to be able to put this England structure management team first. So I think it's a great decision to put Strauss back in. What do you think?
Yeah, I do as well. I mean, I've got a huge amount of respect for Strauss. I think you still need to cast a wide net to see if there is anybody else there that could potentially do a better job. And is there a different role for Strauss, perhaps? Is there another role somewhere? Could he sit above that director of cricket in more of, in an advisory role towards that person, but also in a supervisory role, someone making the big decisions, the long-term vision, strategy, all those sort of things? Maybe Strauss could be that person with somebody acting underneath him. But I certainly would like Strauss to be involved going forward. We shall see what happens there, though. So Ashley Giles, in his statement, so he went on to say, despite these challenges over the past 3 years, we've become 50 over world champions, the top-ranked T20 side in the world, and we remain the 4th-ranked test team. And our under-19s have just reached the World Cup final for the first time in 24 years. I wish all our players and staff great success for the future. I'm now looking forward to spending some time with family before looking at the next challenge. A very positive spin on his statement. Obviously, as he exits, he wants to make sure we all know what a great job he's done. I think another point Nasser is saying, I was listening to a little interview of him earlier, and there's something else he said, is that Ashley Giles was always a bit reluctant to split the management, have a test manager and then maybe a white ball manager or white ball coach, however you want to use the words. I think because of the experience he had when he was captain of the white ball side, he didn't really get what he wanted from the red ball side, let's put it that way. So maybe he was a bit reluctant. And I think that's going to be a really important part of this going forward, is that the coach cannot be all three things. Yeah. So obviously Giles, 4 of 14 tests won under his management. I'm not sure we blame him for that. Maybe we do. He's had a lot to handle. And maybe he's been a little bit, trying to put players first before everything else, and maybe performances and focus on results and performances has maybe over the last year or 18 months been put to the back burner. What say you?
It comes back. It's similar to what we spoke about on the pod the other day, mate, when we was talking about bubble fatigue, and Paul Collingwood coming out and said it's scary the impact it could potentially have on players and burnout. And if I'm a player and I've got a management team that has my back, that take care of my fatigue, my mental well-being, I would run through a brick wall for them. Because to me, as a player or an employee, I'm like, I want to work for you. This is a night. You're trying to create the best environment. You're taking chicken SHIT and making it into chicken soup or chicken salad, whatever the analogy is you want to use. So I think from that point of view, it's really good. I think where Giles falls over a little bit is that one, he didn't split the roles given the amount of fatigue and things going on, because it's not just about splitting the fatigue for players, it's about the coaching structure and system, and giving Chris Silverwood, you gave him all 6 Marvel rings or 5 Marvel rings and said, go and do what you want with this England team. It's yours, knock yourself out. And, if you fail, you fail. Well, that in a way is setting someone up to fail, because it needs to be a strategy set from the top and agreed on. And given the amount of time people spend in bubbles, it's obviously not worked. We've succeeded in one-day international cricket because we've got exceptional players in the squad. And we've not really had rest and rotation and all these other things. We've succeeded in T20 cricket, even though we lost in the semi-final. We were the best team, and we're the best team in the world at T20 cricket. That's fine. Test cricket is where you are essentially going to be ranked as a structure, as a coach, as a director of cricket, and did you do a good job managing this red ball team? And the answer to that is astoundingly no. 4 wins out of 14 is very poor.
Yep.
Those wins have come against Pakistan and West Indies before vaccinations in the UK, where we were just scurrying trying to get a team over. Wins against Sri Lanka as well, which Sri Lanka aren't the best team in the world at the moment. We spoke about where this England team sit in the hierarchy of cricket. You've got the top teams, the bottom teams, and we're just a floater in the middle, mate. So I look at it and go, a lot more could have been done. A lot more could have been done to protect players and coaches cross-format. And by doing that, not giving as many reins to Chris Silverwood. It's a difficult one because I like Giles. I think he's a very astute, slick performer with probably what he does. He did a great job at Warwickshire previously. But I just think he gave too much responsibility to different people, and he probably didn't put in the best structure possible to enable this England team to perform. That's the crux of it. Who's responsible for that? Ashley Giles.
Yeah, ultimately at the moment it is, isn't it? And that's the thing. When we've seen Tom Harrison and Giles both stress about the challenges that they've had in the last couple of years. Well, yeah, we've all had challenges over the last couple of years, and in your particular world, guys, you could have done a lot more to help that. And it wasn't just about being a little bit easier on the players, maybe, and trying to make them as comfortable as possible. It was making bigger decisions. So there's no reason why we couldn't have broken the staff down. Like recently over in West Indies, obviously, we had Paul Collingwood, Trescothick, I think, and one or two others as a coaching staff there. You could have, although Silverwood was given the huge amount of responsibility, you could have rolled that back and said temporarily, whilst we're living in this crazy time, we're going to roll back some of your responsibility, and here you go, we're going to hand it to somebody else. He's going to, maybe Andrew Strauss could have come in and been involved in selection more. I don't know, whoever. But there's more that could have been done, isn't there? And I don't also like, and we're going to get into Silverwood in a second, because I think it's part of the conversation. We wonder if that's the next domino that will drop after Giles goes. But I wonder, what level of responsibility Giles had for the way the coaching staff on this Ashes tour, in my opinion, didn't perform. Players did not improve. Players deteriorated, didn't they? There's the selection of the players at the wrong selection of the wrong games, and leaving key players out at the wrong times. Decisions on the toss. I'm not saying that's going to be Giles, but who was having that input? Somebody was responsible, and someone was overall authority over those coaches. And it seemed, as by the end of that tour, with Graham Thorpe making a bit of a tit of himself with his cigar smoking inside, it seems like there wasn't really anyone holding any reins to the coaches. And if there's no one holding reins to them, they probably weren't holding any to the players. So it probably just got a little bit, it's almost, they probably wished they could have just gone home after 3 tests. It's probably the crux of it. So moving on then, Silverwood is the next question, isn't it? Would it be right for Silverwood to also go, or are we blaming everything on Ashley Giles?
I think whoever the new director of cricket is should have a say on what structure, strategy, and people that he wants in place. You think about businesses, a new CEO comes in, and then over the next 6 months, there's a brand new team. There's a brand new leadership team in operation, and they're going to run things how he wants them to run. So I think Strauss needs to get his feet under the table. It wouldn't... If I'm Strauss, I want to make a decision fast and efficiently to be able to get it set up and have time before you get into the English summer. He will have opinions. He's not cricket shy. He's a cricket lover. So it's not like he's coming into a brand new industry with brand new people he doesn't understand. This is, he's walking back into his old role with just some different people and a slightly different structure in place. So I think Silverwood will go. And I think it will just take a few days for Strauss to work out exactly. Because what he'll have to do, he'll have to go, this is what I've got. This is what I want. This is the budget I've got to play with. Mr. Tom Harrison at the top, this is how I'm structuring everything. Are you okay with that? And it will just take meeting and rigor to kind of work through that red tape to make it happen. I think he will go, 100%.
Yeah, I think he will as well. And I think it's the absolutely right decision. And I'm sorry the way it's gone for him, because I'm sure he's a very nice bloke, but it's just the way it is. If you're not performing, it doesn't matter how nice a guy you are. England Test match cricket needs change. It needs complete overhaul. We've got 8th of March is the first Test match in the West Indies. 3 Test matches we play in the month of March. It's got to be a case of, as quick as possible, get Silverwood relieved of his duties and get someone in temporarily. And I think there was talk, rumours, that's all it is, of rumours of Alex Stewart, potentially, current Director of Cricket of Surrey, never far away from English cricket, whether it's his work as a agent or a coach or on the media, building up his players or his Surrey players, he's never far away.
He loves it.
So he'll probably just take the Surrey squad to West
Sorry,
Indies.
can I say one thing, mate? And I feel this is wrong. Fundamentally, we're looking at Giles, correct? Director of cricket, this is your responsibility. This is the part of the business you take care of. Chris Silverwood, you're responsible. Can I take a shot at Tom Harrison here?
Oh no, that was coming. He's always in the firing line for me, mate.
Utterly frustrating, right? I was looking through the ECB accounts, and their financials have absolutely tanked over the last couple of years, which is understandable.
1 million.
They've gone from a Cricket World Cup and Ashes campaign to COVID to lack of these things. Test match cricket equates to 1.4 billion of the income over a 4-year period. That's huge. Test cricket matters. Obviously, under stewardship, which he is part of, we may see that change. But I was trying to compare apples for apples, and I don't think you can do this for every country, but I'm going to do it anyway because it's our podcast. So, England, right, we talk about rest and rotation, we talk about running players into ground, we talk about bubble fatigue, we talk about how hard it is for the players. Who's the one guy at the top of the tree that can actually make that change, that can reduce the amount of fixtures, that can move things out? Tom Harrison is responsible for that. Australia, Cricket Australia just turned around and said, we're not touring. We're not doing these things. And they just cited COVID as the reason. And who's the benefactors of that? The players that aren't going through the same things. They've been enabled to go and play some franchise cricket. They turned up and they won the T20 World Cup from absolutely nowhere with a coach that apparently no one likes. And they've just drubbed England in the Ashes 4-0. They have hardly left Australia in the last 18 months because of COVID. Yet England, we send them all around the world to play absolutely everyone because there's money in it. Who's responsible for that? Who's at the top of the tree?
ECB.
That's setting strategy, that's helping setting the schedules, dealing with the financials of all these tours. And the only person that can actually turn around and go, we're not doing it. He is responsible for that. And he's coming out of this absolute scot-free.
He is, but I mean, the criticism comes from everywhere. He's not handled anything well. As he, let's keep saying it out loud. 2.1 million during the time when so many people were let go through the ECB and other cricketing institutions. The board members, the executive board members of the ECB, basically gave themselves, like every corporation does when everyone else is struggling, they give themselves ludicrous and disgusting amounts of money. 2.1 million pounds was divided amongst them. Hand it back. Simple as that. If you want any sort of shred of, if you've got any shred of decency, or if you've got anything about you, hand it back. Don't accept it. You don't have to. He sits in front of Common Select Committee talking about this, that, and the other, Azim Rafiq stuff, and racism and the culture of cricket in England and the county setup. He just waffles. He's like me at the moment. He just waffles. He says nothing. He hasn't got a plan. He can come up with all this corporate speak to try and deal with this, that, and the other, and he's got nothing. When you actually just dig down into it, the targets he set himself. He set himself a target of 30% inclusion of players from different backgrounds playing by X year. I can't remember what it was. They're already at 27%. That's not a target to challenge themselves to do anything. It's just a target to achieve so they can look good, so they can say, well done, look at us. It's a shambles. The ECB is probably not fit for purpose as an institution anyway. It needs to be. It shouldn't be almost like a corporate entity anymore. I mean, I don't know how you would structure it, but it should be more almost like a charitable organization where it's not for profit. You make money, but you reinvest that money. It's not about paying yourself. If it wasn't for the 100, basically the cricket has become, you're just being driven to the next thing, aren't you? You've got the 100, you've got all these things, all these commitments that the players had to fulfill because the ECB likes their money so much. It's something has to give. Harrison cannot come out of this unscathed. He has to go, and he has to be another domino. But what's right in front of us is Ashley Giles gone. Strauss has come in. What's next in front of us is Silverwood. Hopefully, no disrespect to him, but hopefully he goes. Maybe an Alex Stewart takes over for West Indies. Selection, that needs a rethink. Everything needs a rethink. We've gone back to square one with red ball cricket. And like you said, whoever does take over in that current ex-Giles role, current Strauss role, they need to have the say of how we're going to structure things. And it has to be the two coaches from a starting point, doesn't it? And selection. I'm not saying you go back to the old boys in the old dress, the old, boardroom deciding who's who, but you need a much, much better, much more resilient method. And I thought they had it right for a few years. Didn't they have Mick Newell from Notts and other people from around the counties were actually involved in the selection panel for a while? Yeah. And that seemed okay. Maybe I've just forgotten because everything's been so bad in between. I've forgotten how bad maybe that was, but yeah, what doesn't need to change? I think that's the question.
What does need to change? Talking of change, Rich.
Yes.
England women's making changes to their structure, appointing a head of performance pathway officer person that's going to take the role. Tell me about that.
Well, yeah, I mean, you've seen more than I have, so I'll just quickly, part of the job description, I think it can, didn't it? Is that the England women's head of performance pathways will play a key role in ensuring all those engaged in the pathway experience a highly effective learning and development environment that creates positive, lifelong moments and memories. I mean, that's a lovely part of a job description, isn't it? So let's see what this role is. Because it's ECB, I'm going to be very, very cynical about what this role actually means. This sounds like they want to create a better experience and then obviously want to push the game more at the top as well. But then they're only giving them one test match. They're not really on primetime television in the 100, etc. So hopefully this will improve things. But I think from my understanding, it's going to sit beneath the senior team, isn't it?
Yes. Yep, that's it.
So so it'll sit below and then they'll work it that way. So, okay. So they go on to say, with a clear direction to develop an inclusive and diverse pathway for players, coaches and sports staff, the role will play a fundamental part in ensuring the success of England women's cricket on the international stage. So I think it's an honourable, decent thing to do. It sounds like it's needed. It's just getting the right person. It's giving them the right job description and it's giving them the right target, isn't it? I think that's probably the best way to say it. Right step, right direction?
I think it is. I think when we did the how to fix English cricket and we were talking predominantly men's cricket, when we're talking how to fix English men's cricket, I spoke about player pathways being absolute integral and someone taking ownership of that pathway. Who owns that pathway? Whose job role is it? And then who is it in that team that deals with these players and goes, oh, you know what? You're 16, we've identified you. You're going to come on these fast bowling camps. You're a fast bowler. We're going to go you're a spinner. We're going to go and take you to this environment and bowl you and get these coaches in. I really like that. I feel that's hugely missing in the men's structure. And it's good to see the women's structure doing something like that. Because a lot of the women that's coming into the game are really young. There's a boom in women's cricket of players that are playing the game. So they need this role to identify the better players and give them the best experiences to limit the gap from playing A-grade cricket or playing club cricket to going and playing a test match or the Ashes. I think it's a good step in the right direction. Proof will be in the pudding. And it's what actually is the job and what are you accountable for is all the fluff, the actual grunt, not the fluff, the grunt that needs to come out about what it actually is.
Yeah, and I want these roles to be created for the right reasons as well. I don't want it to be a knee-jerk reaction from the ECB because of the flack they're getting from what started as in Rafiq. I don't even call them allegations. What he said, what he described. I just want to make sure they're doing it for the right reasons, not just because they need to react and look as if they're doing the right things and saying the right things and using the right corporate buzzwords. Or cultural buzzwords at the moment, diversity and all this. It's like, mean it. If you're going to do it, if you're going to create it, mean it and let them have some autonomy over what they can do and how they go about doing it. Not the corporate white blokes is sat at the ECB head office deciding what's best. Because then it will just be a waste of a position. Why not have a matched position? I don't know exactly what the comparable position would be for men's cricket, but why not have that over in the men's side as well? I feel like we just need more joined up. It's like any sports team. It's like a football club. You want somebody that's there providing, or a business, isn't it? Providing the vision, providing the strategy, providing everything, the long term. This is how we want to play. This is how we want to develop. You can't develop a cricket team or a sports team, football team over a couple of years. You need that long term plan of where you're trying to go to and by when. And you just wish that there's that sort of structure could be put in place. So if a coach doesn't perform, you move that coach out, you bring a new one in, and you continue that journey. It shouldn't be ripping it up every 3 or 4 years and completely going back to the drawing board with the whole setup. It's exhausting.
Yeah, starting again every single time. Yeah. It is really, really difficult. And I think one of the things that is hard in cricket, it's not like a business world where there's a million people who have had the right experiences and dealt with it. There's only so many people that kind of go forward after playing into these roles. So it does limit the pool that you're trying to deal with. But we definitely have to do it better. And hopefully... And again, we don't know the inner workings of the ECB. We don't know how much reign Tom Harrison has got over everything and how he would like things to work, or whether he hires a team that he thinks best and goes, how would you do this? What do you think about doing this? Because, one of the best things in life is no one's an expert at everything, right? And you surround yourself, if you've got a team, you surround yourself by the best team that are going to create the best vision and then go and execute to the highest degree. And hopefully... Tommy Harrison up there, Tommy boy, you are starting to step up to the plate and start taking some accountability for some of these messes that's been going on. Raising voice back down.
We will see. We'll see. Yeah. Can I just before we do wrap up, I just want to quickly ask you a very, very quick question. Just going back onto the coaching side, Alex Stewart was the name that was put forward. Is there anybody else you would think of that would be a really, really good person to just temporarily take this team? And June is the next time we start playing cricket again for England. Are there any coaches out there you think would be absolutely bang on for either the red ball or the white ball setups? Just intrigued.
Great question, mate. I think when you're talking your head coach, I think we need to split out the roles. We need to have a red ball 100%. Head coach and maybe a white ball head coach. Maybe make it as basic as that.
I agree.
White ball, I think there's an abundance of white ball coaching talent that's nabbed up by the IPL and places like that. You'd love to see a Ricky Ponting or a Stephen Fleming coming into this environment and doing some good. Someone like a Shane Bonds, one of the best bowling coaches in the world these days. You'd love to see people like that involved. From a red ball point of view, I don't think you can go far away from Gary Kirsten if he wants the role. He wouldn't want the whole shebang, which is another reason to try and split it up. But again, I don't think long-term wise, you need to get the stuff sorted at the top and go, this is what we're doing. Gary Kirsten seems like a very intelligent bloke. He's not just going to walk into an absolute show and go, I'm being hung out to dry here. He'd want to understand what's going on. And Andrew Strauss, if it is Andrew Strauss and Tommy Harrison boy at the top going, this is the strategy. This is what we want to achieve over years. This is your accountability. These are your roles. Where do we go from there? That's how I would like to see it split up. And maybe even a Stephen Fleming in that test conversation as well. I rate him that highly that he's probably...
Me too.
He has got the skills. And I think the jobs are more appealing if they're not 24/7 on the road covering absolutely everything these days.
Yeah. I think Kirsten might have had the job a few years ago if it wasn't for the fact that they Ashley Giles put it all into one, didn't he? He wanted it to be the whole, one coach for all. So they're great names. Kirsten and Fleming are the two names that come to my mind immediately. I'm intrigued. I wonder if the white ball might be, that's the opportunity to bring some maybe younger coaches through, like a Collingwood and one or two others, maybe. I wonder as well for this temporary one. Collingwood's been away recently. I wonder if they put him on ice and some of the other guys. I'd be intrigued to see. I mean, obviously you don't want a current county coach because they've got their hands full getting ready for a cricket season. But it will be intriguing to see what opportunity they give to who to take over it in the West Indies, assuming, obviously, they let Silverwood go. That's what we're waiting for next. And I would be shocked if we don't hear in the next couple of days that he's looking for a new job.
Yeah, I agree. You know, I'm going to put one out there, and it might not be this time, but it might be the next time. Vikram Solanki as England's white ball coach. He has just left. I think he was at Surrey, and he's gone and joined up at the IPL for the second time.
Yeah, great name.
Obviously, looks like he wants to take that white ball speciality path. Probably pays quite well if he gets paid. According to Jared Kimber, a few guys don't get paid by the end of these franchise competitions.
No comment.
Maybe one for the future to look out for. But it is
nice name.
It is a beautiful SHIT sandwich that we've put together that's actually got another layer under it where we've come back to the ECB and we're just poor old women's cricket's just been squashed between Ashley Giles and Tom Harrison and coaching issues.
We apologise.
So that's us done, guys. Let us know your thoughts. If you've watched this, we are available on YouTube as well. There you can leave us comments and let us know what you think. Also, if you want to tweet us, we're at Leading Edge Pod on Twitter as well. Thank you so much for listening, guys. Really interesting conversation and looking forward to the England Under-19 World Cup final at the weekend. Until next time.